With how the market's been looking so far this year, aka a shit show, that's a technical term, it's important to remind ourselves that times like these are normal. The stock market is an absolute brutal roller coaster, and I'm afraid that's just the cost of admission. So in this video, I'm going to be covering what people think their path to wealth or a particular financial goal might look like versus what maths tells us it might look like versus what real life tells us it actually looks like. And they're all quite different. So let's jump right in. Whenever you set yourself any form of financial goal, our brains typically process progress in a linear fashion. Now, side note, if you're thinking you don't have a financial goal, think again. You may not have explicitly stated or think you have a financial goal, but realistically, most people do have them. You may not just call them a goal, but if you're saving money for, let's say, a new car or a deposit on a house, a holiday abroad, a wedding, whatever, then that's your financial goal. And of course, you can have multiple of these, as many people do. So whenever you set yourself a financial goal, we think the path to achieving that is going to look something like this. In this graph, I've assumed the financial goal we're going after is a nice chunky amount of change, £100,000 or dollars or yen, or the currency doesn't matter. And we're going to save £250 every single month to try help us get there. So this line represents our account value, this steady progress, this smooth line that runs straight from year one, starting with absolutely nothing, up until year 34, when we finally hit our 100,000 goal, is what we might expect our journey on this target to look like, as we're saving the exact same amount every single month. However, that line assumes we're not doing anything with that money. We're just stuffing it into the mattress. But of course, you're not going to do that, are you? You're a savvy saver. So you use the Money Saving Expert website to find the current highest paying savings account at the moment to put your £250 into each month. And at the moment, as of the time of recording this, that's currently with Shawbrook Bank at 1.86%. Now, interest rates that banks are offering are on the rise, and the company offering that top savings account is changing frequently, as well as the rate they're offering. So I fully expect that 1.86% to change in the near future. However, as of right now, it's the best on the market, so we'll go with it. So if we assume you make 1.86% every year on the money you're saving, you're not just stuffing it under the mattress anymore, but you're making a small percentage each year, your path to 100,000 might look slightly different, but not massively. Comparing this to our original line, we can see the small difference and how you've managed to now shave over 7 years off your timeline to achieve that goal. Of course, if you're not new here and you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll know that this channel is all about investing education. And so of course, I think we should be investing to help us try get to that goal. So let's assume now we invest that £250 every month instead, and all of a sudden our graph will start to look something like this. Let's just remove our first two lines to really focus on our new yellow investing line. And as you can see, we no longer have our original straight line, but we have this really pronounced upward curving exponential line, meaning it gets faster and faster as time goes on. Now, this is what a maths equation tells us investing our £250 will look like. It's not straight, but it's a nice smooth curved line upwards that as time goes by is always increasing. There's never any tiny fall or dip along the way. It makes investing look like a walk in the park, a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you want to be on this nice smooth line? It makes it look so stress-free. But unfortunately, outside of the world of perfect maths equations, this is not what investing looks like. That smooth line actually looks more like this.
Oh, hell
Now,
no.
I'm not using some maths equation, and this isn't just a random line I've drawn on a graph, I promise. This is real data. This is what investing that £250 every single month into the US stock market would have looked like if you'd started back in January 2010 until the end of July 2022. Now, as you can see, this line is certainly nowhere near as smooth as the previous line we saw. There's a hell of a lot more ups and downs along the way. And your account value actually would have surpassed your goal at one point, as you had over 109,000. However, as of July this year, you would have just £97,913. Now, if we add back our smooth line that maths tells us how our investing journey was going to look like, that's when we can really see the differences. Of course, there are times when our investments are performing really well and we're above this line, and there are times when we're below the yellow line, when our investments might not be performing as well as our perfect maths equation told us. People in the investing community, or in articles you may read, or even videos you watch on YouTube like this, often refer to things like an 8% annual return, or maybe an 11-12% annual return if they're talking about the US stock market. But what the hell does that actually mean? because what they're referring to is an average. For example, the average return over the past 40 years for the US stock market is around 12%, meaning if you had invested into the American stock market 40 years ago, your money would have essentially grown at around 12% every single year. But remember, it's an average. It smooths out those ups and downs along the way to give you that 12%, to give you that nice smooth yellow line we saw earlier. The reality, as you now know, looks absolutely nothing like that. That's why the annual returns for the S&P 500 for the past 40 years actually look like this. So if we now draw our 12% annual returns line on there, there's a few years that come close where you would have made around that sort of headline figure, but in most years, the return you experience is vastly different. Some years you actually smash it and make over 30%. Unfortunately, in others, you're down in the dumps like in 2008 and you lose over 38%. So now that you know all this, let's bring back our original lines. And here I've added in some vertical lines for us to see how long it takes to reach our 100,000 goal in each scenario. With our blue line, where we just save our money under the mattress, it takes us over 33 years. Saving into the bank account, it takes us about 26 years. Our maths equation, our yellow line, tells us it's going to take 13 years, but in our real investing scenario, it actually only took 11 years and 8 months. But remember, our account value in this scenario is constantly changing. And remember, this yellow line isn't even real. It's not possible to even be on that line. So let's just remove that from the graph because that's not an option. So we've got 3 options left. And here you can really see the power of investing. The market's ability to grow your money is truly amazing, but it's not always an easy path. Investing is not a straight line, as much as we all would like it to be. The numbers are always going to go up, the numbers are always going to go down. It's a roller coaster you have to be willing to ride on. Along the way, there'll be market crashes, there'll be turmoil, wars are going to break out around the world, there's recession fears like now, there's crazy high inflation, but you have to be disciplined. You have to be able to not be distracted by all that short-term noise, and you need to look at the long-term picture. After all, these lines all end up at the same place, just at different times. So ask yourself, which one do you want to be on? And on that note, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit all those buttons below the video that every single YouTuber tells you to do. Remember to always invest smarter, not harder, and I'll see you in the next one. So in this graph, I've assumed the financial goal. And so of course, I think we should be investing to help.